Hello and welcome back to episode 3 and also the end of season 1 in my first career mode on FIFA 23. Yeah, that's right, we're finishing off season 1, beginning first of all with the January transfer window. With us only having one good centre back in Barrison and Masiella looking like he's going to retire at the end of the season, it was important to sign someone fairly quick, fairly tall and fairly good at defending. We followed this up by signing Bradley Fink. He's 192 centimeters tall with 73 pace and 78 strength. Hopefully we can develop this guy to be better than his starting overall, which is only 64 overall, and hopefully he can be a good long striker for us for many years to come. So here you can see the table with 25 games gone. We're a couple of points off the playoffs, 9 points off the playoffs, and we're miles away from relegation as well. We're not really in trouble. Genoa's probably going to win the league with Caligari going up as well. So let's have a look at one of our other new signings. Stefano Sturaro had joined at the start of the transfer window. What we needed was an experienced, good central defensive midfielder, and that's exactly what Sturaro is. Our first game is against Genoa, of course, the team in first place, as we just saw in the table. Started off with an early yellow card, but then we had our first chance. Youth player Moser got through one-on-one, controlled it well, and volleyed it in. This was actually his debut match, and I'm sure you'll expect to see a lot of this guy in the future. He's about 6'1", he's got a decent amount of pace. He's a striker, but he actually plays better on the left wing. You can see him there teeing up our striker, and all of a sudden we were 2-0 up against the best team in the league. It was a bit of a shocking result so far. With half time gone, it was now time for Genoa to have a corner. A nice feint outside, an early cross. It ricocheted off our defender onto a diving header, but it was actually counted as an own goal, so the winger will claim that one as his own. With an hour gone, now it is time for us to attack. A nice bundle of a way through, we managed to get the ball out wide, and one of the luckiest goals, volleyed it straight into the base of the post and it somehow went under the goalkeeper. Now Capone had made it 3-1. But there was now also still time for Genoa to keep coming back. This was a very high scoring game, as I'm sure you can tell. Yeboah played it in, another finish, only 2 minutes later, the 1-goal lead was back. Not only is a 1-goal lead terrible for the team, but it also makes a very nervous situation for all the staff and especially the manager. Even more nervous is when Genoa started passing the ball quickly around at the edge of the box, and they managed to equalise with 15 minutes to go. Puertas was absolutely on fire, causing at least 2 goals. With only a couple of minutes passed, it was now time for another Genoa attack. Puertas again involved, and this time Coda would put Genoa ahead for the first time. A 3-1 lead had been choked into a 4-3 loss, and that's exactly how the game would finish. Moser had a really good performance, so expect to see many more goals from him over the next few seasons. But unfortunately, the long trip to Genoa had ended with a defeat. Now it's time for another away game, this time against Venezia, slightly closer to home. With Venezia's stadium being in the lagoon, the Colossus of Sudtirol managed to swim upstream, Fink getting through one-on-one in his debut match and slotting it straight past the goalkeeper. Again, Sudtirol were up 1-0. The next action wouldn't happen until just after the hour mark. Moser playing on the wing tried to find the target man of Fink, but it was actually Coretta who would make the chance and managed to slot it in to make it 2-0. Hopefully, Sudtirol wouldn't choke away another lead. Well, 15 minutes later, it was time for Venezia to have an attack. Johnson on the wing managed to play it through. The centre-back from Sudtirol couldn't quite get there, neither could new signing Anga, and all of a sudden, it was 2-1. Could the unthinkable be happening for a second game in a row? Well, thankfully, we managed to keep the ball for basically the rest of the game, and that's exactly how the game would end. We had one chance there, which would have been offside, but Venezia couldn't get it forward fast enough and the game would end 2-1. 3 points and a good 3 points at that. Unfortunately, we don't have too much to actually be playing for at the moment. We're too far off the playoffs to really be a threat, and we're too far off the relegation zone to be threatened by that. So really, we're just going to skip right to the end of the season, where we played our final match against Pisa. Now, Pisa are a fairly average team. They have some better players out on loan than they actually have in their first team. The thing about football is you can only play the team that's in front of you, and fortunately for us, that meant a weak Pisa team. We got into a lead after just 12 minutes, which was a great early start for us because usually we do start pretty poorly. Mazziochi then played it through out to the winger. Capone, in one of his last games on loan, managed to do that shot. Really not what we were going for, but really sums up the general averageness of this team before our transfer window. Capone would have another chance. Crocchiata was another player on loan, as is Mazziochi, so these were all in their final game. Mazziochi tried to end his career with Sudtirol in style, but unfortunately he couldn't quite make it. He had a chance to try and have another go, but he did the wise thing and he played it through to Caretta, who managed to make it 2-0, and we would actually end the season with a string of 3 different wins, including this one at Pisa. They would have a late corner here, which was way over time. You can see that there's nearly an extra minute that's been played. They would get their head on it and make it 2-1, but that wouldn't affect things too much. They tried to rush back, but by the time that we'd taken the kickoff, the game was over. And that meant it was time for our transfer window, where we were in charge of actually making our own squad for the first time. We actually only signed about 4 different players in that first season, not including youth players, so we could really put a stamp on the squad and have a look what we were going to do. So let's have a look at one final look at the table. So we had the 5th worst squad, but we managed to finish 10th, which I think is a pretty decent result. In the end, we were 10 points off Brescia for the playoff spot, which, you know, is probably better than I said we would have done at the start of the save. So, our first signing came through the door. See if you can recognize this guy, because he's actually had a pretty good career. He's Brazilian, he's a left wing back, and he used to play for Inter Milan. That's right, it's Dolbert. This guy has a ton of pace despite being quite old. He's one of our top earners now, but he's going to be more than worth it in my opinion. A 71 overall and about 32 years old, this guy is going to be bossing the entire left wing all year. Next up was something we desperately needed, a more agile centre midfielder to try and anchor and boss possession when we had the ball. However, things didn't go entirely our way. You can see Nico Mantel got a big transfer offer here from West Bromwich Albion. We tried to negotiate to see if we could get even more money, and they actually did agree to £3.5 million. This is a huge transfer for a team of our size. This means we can strengthen in 3 or 4 different positions in areas we never dreamed we would be able to with our starting transfer budget of just £1 million. So we've got over 4 times more budget now than we began with. Nico Mantel left to go live in Birmingham, and who knows, maybe our paths will cross again in the future. However, his transfer money was instantly spent. In came Ernesto Torregrossa. This guy's 6'1", he's got 84 strength, 89 jumping, a decent amount of pace, and he can finish. He was going to be the target man up front, the star striker, the star signing, and we got him for so cheap from Sampdoria. This guy could change our entire season, and we're probably going to be relying on him quite a lot. So here's our tactic. It's 4-4-2. We've got Fink and Torregrossa up front. We have Braunoda, the first DM, with Sturaro, 2 decent ball-playing midfielders. We've got Dalbert playing as a left wing-back. We've got Zani Maka on the other side on loan. He's our best player by far, but he's only on loan, unfortunately. We've got the same fullbacks as last season, but we've also got Anger and Barrison still in centre-back. I'm going to apologise for the short episode already, because we're going to finish the episode right here. We're going to start Season 2's first match, which I believe is against Brescia, in the next episode, which will be coming out next Friday. I've still not finished the episode, and I've still not finished the transfer market, so if you've got any suggestions for signings or tactics that I should use, make sure you leave them in the comments below. You've been watching the pre-season highlights for our game against Cologne, which is as far as I've got, so make sure you leave those signing suggestions in the comments below, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss episode 4, which might actually be episode 1 of season 2, I'm not entirely sure, but I'm going to make sure it's coming out next Friday. Please like the video if you enjoyed it, and I'm going to see you soon. Thank you all for watching and subscribing and viewing and everything you guys do. Thank you and goodbye.